The town of Westbrook had always seemed harmless, suburban, quiet, and wrapped in trees that turned golden every October. The kind of place where high school crushes bloomed in the shadow of lockers, and secrets were whispered over slushies and worn-out anime DVDs. Elijah was 18 the summer he met Rena for real. They'd known of each other, seen each other in homeroom, passed notes during AP English, but it wasn't until a late-night anime binge at a friend's basement party that everything changed. The show was Death Note. Twisted, poetic, addictive. By the time they reached episode 12, everyone else had either left or fallen asleep on beanbags. Rena turned to Elijah, eyes wide, pupils like pinpricks of starlight. "Do you believe in that?" she asked, her voice low. "Justice that's supernatural? Promises sealed in blood?" Elijah laughed nervously. "No, I mean, it's just a show." She didn't blink. "But what if it wasn't?" She leaned in, her dark hair brushing his shoulder. "Let's make a vow," she whispered. He froze. What kind of vow? Rena reached into her pocket, pulling out a small pocket knife. It gleamed under the basement's single light. "That if either of us betrays the other, if one of us ever cheats or breaks the bond, we suffer. Horribly. Death or loneliness. Forever." He stared at her, stunned by the intensity of her eyes. "That's crazy," he said with a chuckle. But she was already cutting a shallow line across her thumb. "You scared?" she teased. And maybe he was, but he didn't want to seem like a coward. So he nodded, took the blade, and followed her lead. Their blood mingled, red drops glistening like rubies in the palm of her hand. She whispered words that sounded ancient and raw, like something pulled from deep inside her. "I swear. Break me and be broken. Leave me and be left alone. Forever." He echoed the words. And that was it. A high school fever dream. A secret tucked away in a memory box, sealed with teenage adrenaline and the illusion of eternity. 12 years later, Elijah had forgotten the exact words. Not the moment. It still lived somewhere in the back of his mind, like an old VHS tape, but it was faded, washed over by life. He was now 30, married to a kind woman named Sophia. They had a daughter, Lila, who was 5 and obsessed with anime. She had no idea her dad had once made a cursed blood vow over Death Note. She just liked the weird drawings and big eyes. They were visiting his hometown that weekend. His parents were getting older, and Sophia wanted Lila to spend more time with them. Elijah didn't mind. Westbrook was harmless now, just grocery stores, gas stations, and ghosts of who he used to be. But something strange happened on the second day back. His mother met him at the door, her face pale. "Elijah," she said, voice trembling, "did you hear about Rena?" The name struck him like cold water. "No. Why?" She died just a few days ago. The paper said it was an accident, but it wasn't right. They said she fell from a balcony during a lightning storm, but the railing was intact, and there were claw marks on her arms, like she was being dragged. Elijah's heart stumbled in his chest. He told himself it was coincidence. Lightning, a storm, wet floor. Tragic, but explainable. Yet when he saw a photo of her in the obituary, a familiar face with aged eyes. Something inside him sank. He remembered the vow, the blood, the or else. He laughed nervously that night, brushing it off. He had a family. He was happy. The eternal loneliness part clearly didn't apply. It couldn't, could it? A month later, his parents died in a car crash. A deer, too fast, too sudden, on a road they'd driven for 20 years. Then his son Max started coughing at night. The hospital visits stretched into weeks, then tests, then more tests. The word terminal carved itself into Elijah's world like a knife into wood. And as Max's body withered, Sophia unraveled. The night Max passed away, Sophia didn't come home. They found her in the bathtub, water red. The police didn't say much, but the neighbors whispered. There had been yelling, a slammed door, a history of grief. Elijah was arrested. He was acquitted. But no one looked at him the same again. Not the mailman, not the barista who once knew his order, not the boss who politely asked him to take time to heal, then never called back. Now Elijah swept parking lots at night, wore a jacket that didn't fit, slept in a motel room that smelled like bleach, alone, completely, forever? To be continued. The days blurred after Sophia's death. The courts had cleared Elijah's name, but the whispers never stopped. The world didn't need proof, just enough suspicion to paint him guilty. He lost everything. By late autumn, he was renting a basement room in a decaying Victorian house on the edge of downtown Asheville. The rent was cheap because the plumbing screamed and the walls wept in rain. Mold crept through the corners like gossip, and rats scurried like they knew secrets no one dared speak. He took whatever jobs he could, sweeping parking lots, hauling trash, cleaning gutters with bleeding knuckles and a heart that refused to beat at full strength anymore. He hadn't spoken to another person for more than 5 minutes in weeks. He told himself it was just grief. Until Rena came back. Not in dreams, not in memory, but in waking life. It started when he saw her standing on the sidewalk outside the diner where he used to eat with Sophia. Same sharp cheekbones, same cold fire in her eyes. But her neck twisted like it had been snapped. Her head leaned too far to the left. She didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then a bus passed by, and she was gone. Elijah stumbled back, knocking over a tray held by a waitress. He tried to explain, apologize, but his words came out broken. The manager threatened to call the cops, and Elijah left with shaking hands and a knot forming in his stomach. That night, he woke up at 3:13 a.m. to the sound of fingernails scratching inside his closet. He opened the door. Nothing there, only a drop of blood on his shoe. The next week, he saw Rena again, in the alley behind the hardware store, then by the elementary school. Each time, she came closer. Each time, her face grew less human. Her teeth sharpened, her eyes hollowed out, her skin peeled like burnt paper. She never spoke. Not until the night it rained sideways and Elijah found a letter slipped under his door. No envelope, just a single sheet, handwritten. You thought time meant forgiveness. You thought forgetting was escape. You thought blood was a game. You were wrong. You are the last piece. He burned the letter in the sink, but the flame turned black and hissed like it was alive. That night, his reflection moved slower than him in the mirror. Desperate, Elijah turned to the one person who still might believe him, Rachel Morgan. She had been part of their old anime circle, soft-spoken, bookish, now a local librarian with a nervous smile and a black coffee addiction. He found her during closing hours, slouched behind the circulation desk. At first, she barely recognized him. Then her face fell. "Elijah, God, what happened to you?" "I need to talk to you," he whispered. "About Rena, about that night." Rachel blinked. "What night?" "The blood pact." She froze, then laughed nervously. "You're not serious." He looked at her. Really looked. "Do you have nightmares?" he asked. She went quiet, then nodded, almost imperceptibly. "She visits me too," she said. They spoke for hours, about the pact, about guilt, about how childish it all seemed, and how real it had become. Rachel confessed she'd burned all of her anime DVDs after Rena's death. Something had started scratching at her windows at night. Her cat went missing. She heard whispers in the walls. But Elijah had it worse. He had broken the vow the hardest. "You had a family," she said softly. "You moved on." "Is that my sin?" Elijah asked. Rachel didn't answer. She suggested something drastic. "What if you undo the pact?" she said. "Symbolically, burn something. Say the words in reverse. Blood bound you. Maybe blood can unbind you." Elijah didn't believe in magic, but he didn't have much left to lose. They met that night in the forest behind the cemetery, where they used to sneak beers as teenagers. Elijah brought the same hoodie he wore that night with Rena. Rachel brought a photo of all three of them at a Comic-Con. They poured kerosene over the items, lit a match. The flames roared brighter than expected, blue, then white, then a furious green that turned the trees into ghosts. Then it screamed, not a sound, a scream from inside the fire. Rachel fell to her knees, clutching her ears. Elijah tried to run, but the fire surged upward, licking at the sky like a tongue, and Rena stepped out of it. Only it wasn't Rena anymore. It was something else. Her body was blackened, her limbs jointed wrong, like a puppet with melted strings. Her face was half beautiful, half bone. Her eyes were twin voids. "Undoing?" she hissed. "You think this is about spells?" Elijah backed away. "Please, just tell me what you want." She smiled. "I want you alone, forever, just like you left me." Then she reached out, and the world cracked. Elijah woke up in a hospital bed. Rachel was gone. The police said she had been reported missing. They found her shoes and a melted ID badge at the edge of the woods, but nothing else. They didn't believe Elijah's story. No one ever would. They diagnosed him with acute trauma-induced psychosis, released him weeks later under community supervision. Now he worked the midnight shift, cleaning the same library where Rachel used to sit. Sometimes he still hears her humming. Sometimes he smells fire when there's nothing burning. And always, always he is alone. Exactly the way the pact promised. Eternal means forever, and forever means being the last one left.